This is Hardspace Shipbreaker, and it has easily the best salvaging mechanics ever devised in any space game. The title has just released from early access and is now in full release, so I felt this is a perfect opportunity to take a look at the game, the first section at least, just so you can get a good idea of what it's all about. Now at this point I've skipped past the first parts of the tutorial, but we're still in the very early stages of the game. Down there you can see what is known as the barge. It's just lit up there, and what we've got to do is drop valuable components into that. So yeah, as you may have guessed, the whole concept of Shipbreaker is to break down ships. Over on the right you can see the furnace, so some elements will need to go into the furnace, other elements will need to go into a blue bay called the processor, and you can see right there on the HUD the green flashing light tells us that this section needs to go into the barge. So we've got two tools to enable us to do this, the cutter beam, which we're using right here, and the grappling gun. Now we can use the grappling gun to repel objects away from us just by pressing the middle mouse button, or we can use the left mouse button to attach to them and to just manipulate them around the environment, but we're just going to repel it down there into the barge for now. You'll see the grappling section of the gun further into the video in just a moment actually. So we're going to do the same to the other nacelle over here, just remove it and project it down into the barge. You may have noticed that the cutting tool has two different modes. We've got the focused beam here, as well as a long cutting beam that we'll use to cut up metal components of the ship. You'll see that slightly further into the video. Let's just project that down into the barge there. Now, in case you're wondering how we break down ships, well, usually we have to get inside of them. The cutting tool doesn't really work from the exterior, and first to do that, we need to disassemble the ship into smaller components. The yellow markers there are essentially anchor points. We need to melt those away to remove other components. The blue parts need to go into the processor, whilst mostly, for the most part, red components need to go into the furnace, although this thruster does need to go into the processor despite showing up as red. So here we go, removing the two grappling points there, the two anchor points. We can now manipulate the processor and move it into the processing bay just over there in the distance. Once we're certain it's moving in the right direction, there we go, we can propel it into the distance. Now it's perfectly possible to put parts of the ships into the wrong bays. That could have gone into the furnace, and well, they would have complained at me if I'd done that, and I would have lost some money from the value of the ship. Incidentally, at the top of the screen there's a little bar, and that has some tiers marked on it, 1, 2, 3 and onwards. As we break down the ship and salvage its components, we will progress through those different tiers, each of them representing a different value and a different level. Now right here I'm going to show you what happens if we overheat the cutting tool. Very nearly overheated here. Perfect opportunity because these anchor points are so close together. And there we go, we get set on fire, or at least our suit gets set on fire. Right now this isn't doing us any harm. That part of the game hasn't yet been enabled, but it will be in a few more minutes into the video. Basically you have suit health, you also have oxygen supply, as well as fuel supply. All of these need to be monitored to make sure you have a safe environment out here. Oh, a safe experience. Now this is definitely a very, very dangerous place, and the game makes that abundantly clear. In fact, when you start the game, you have to sign up to the Lynx Corporation, which is famed for its salvaging. But not only that, it's also famous for its cloning technology. Basically, your clone is called a spare. And to sign up for the wonderful job of being a salvager or a shipbreaker, you need to agree to become a clone. So basically, this involves destroying your original body and being transferred into a clone's body. For this wonderful opportunity, the Lynx Corporation will charge you the fee of 1.2 billion credits. You essentially go into debt for that amount and then need to repay that over the time, basically entering into indentured servitude. Also, the whole reason for this clone process is because you're effectively guaranteed to die, and you also need to pay for the privilege of using these clones. So if you die and you need to be given another spare, then that will also be added to your debt. Okay, so we're going to send that down into the barge there. I've just lost my orientation. The barge is down, the ship should be up. It's around here somewhere. This is one thing I keep doing in this game, I keep losing my orientation. There we go, I was up way higher than I thought I was. Too busy talking and not paying attention to my position. Right, so we're looking for the yellow cut points. These will allow us to detach other elements of the exterior of the ship and then further break them down, sending them into either the processing bay or into the furnace. But before we do that, we want to remove the more valuable components. That will keep everyone happy and get us a better return on the value of the ship. Of course, it's also possible to damage parts of your ship. If you damage them by too much, basically you won't be able to salvage them, and the value of that will be deducted from the overall value of the ship. This will then mean you can't make full progress through the tiers at the top of the screen. Basically, a red bar will start to appear on the right hand side, and every time you cause damage it will progress towards the left. And I'm sure you'll see that throughout my little play session here, as I'm pretty terrible for that sort of thing, and very likely to damage something unintentionally. Okay, so you may have noticed that the NPC narrator has now enabled the other parts of the game. We've now got health, suit, fuel and O2. All of these we're going to need to monitor, although this section of the game is pretty easy and shouldn't be too much of a problem for us. Later on you get a lot of danger hazards such as fire, as well as the explosive decompression, all these sort of things you need to avoid if you want to have a safe salvaging experience. So we're looking for the cutting points here, hidden away somewhere. But we've got a few other components that it looks like we can pull out and put into the barge. Now, while I'm doing that, I want to briefly talk about the differences between the early access version of Hardspace that's been out for quite a while now. I think it came out in, 2020 did it, or 2021? And the final release we've got here today. The developers have been very hard at work on it, doing regular updates and basically adding nicely to the overall title. And also, while we're talking about the developers, you may well recognise the aesthetics here. Very reminiscent of Homeworld, actually. Now, Hardspace is not set in the Homeworld universe, but it is made by a lot of the same people, or it's at least got a lot of the same influences. Okay, so here are a few of the things that you can expect to see in the final release here. These are the notes as released by the developers, Blackbird. Okay, final campaign act added. A powerful and satisfying conclusion to the events set in motion over the course of Acts 1 and 2. Save and load ships. Save your progress and salvage. No more losing value on a behemoth ship because you need to step away. So, very nice touch there. Improved progression, economy and upgrades. With the help of our fantastic community, the pace of progress has been tuned to perfection. So, one good benefit for being in early access for so long is that once the title gets to its full release, it can theoretically at least hit the ground running, with things like balance fine-tuned already. What else have we got? Improved performance and stability, Steam achievements, trading cards, emoticons, backgrounds, a few little things there, and a quick reminder that says that this update will be the final progression reset. The game is available on Steam, but you'll also be able to find it over on the PC Game Pass, and if you're already a member there, that is a no-brainer. Definitely check it out. Okay, so let's get inside the ship and see what we can pick up. Oh, what do we got here? Thruster fuel. Don't really need thruster fuel at the moment. We can see we're at max, but I'm going to take it anyway. I don't really want anything accidentally exploding or getting destroyed, just because I'm not paying quite enough attention. So I've got a few more cut points here. And we're going to remove these and hopefully start dealing with some of the larger sections of the ship. And there we go. As I've cut that last cut point, you could see that that section of the ship slowly drifted outwards. Let's see if we can see the same thing happen here. We can't quite get to the cut point because that bench is in the way. That needs to go into the barge. I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to get that out of the hatch there. The bench is a little bit too big. Okay, so we're going to leave that there, I think, just up here so I can still get out the door if I need to. And hopefully we can now see the cut point. There we go, and you should be able to see that little element of the ship, of just that panel, slowly drifting out. And we can use the grappling gun to push that forward. We need to orientate it towards the processing bay there. Over in the processor. Nearly there, struggling a little bit there, the tool is. And we should be able to propel it away. Of course, stuff can be set adrift so it flies off into space, at which point you would lose the value of the item. We don't want that to happen. And there you can see a huge section being pulled out of the bottom of the ship there. Another one I think should be able to come out, didn't I? Already free that? I thought I already freed that section. At any rate, we've got a load of other cut points here. Might as well do those while we can see them. So we're going to try and get up to maybe tier 2 on this particular playthrough. Let's see how long that happens. And then at which point we can return back to the hab and, well, be done for the day. See how much money we earn. We could then wake up in the morning and carry on with the same ship, or put a new ship into the bay and start with that. Up on the top right, you can see our certificate. We're currently rated 3. Now, over time, as we progress through the different tiers and the different ships, our certificate will slowly increase, and we'll end up with a level 4 certificate, level 5 certificate, and so on. That is how we progress through the game, and as we get a higher rating certificate, it basically means we're a more experienced salvager, which in turn means we get access to ever more complex and ever more hazardous and dangerous ships to pull apart. Obviously, what we're looking at here is one of the most basic of ships, but still, quite fun. One thing I really enjoy about this, especially this section of the game, this early stages of the game, and it's very, very relaxing. It can kind of be relaxing as you play through the later stages too, but you've got to keep in mind the hazards, and there's also some timer elements in there as well. That said, the game does have a few different modes. We're playing in standard mode here, so we have got health, we have got O2 and fuel. There's also a more relaxing mode, and this allows you to progress through the game without the worry of health, fuel and O2, so very nice option for those of you who wish to have that. There's also 2 other options. The third option gives you 30 lives, so you can die 30 times, at which point game over, and then the fourth option is just 1 life. If you die, you're basically finished and will have to go back to the start again. Okay, so some of these cutting points are hidden within the superstructure. You can see that, can't you? Just hidden behind the wall panels here. I might cut into them in just a bit, but let's cut these other points here, these other joins. There we go, the roof is now lifting away, and we're going to put that into the processor as well. Now, as you progress through the game and gain, unlock the other certificates, what will happen is you'll gain access to new and improved tools. Some of them will be entirely new, others will just be modifications of what we've already got. So new certificates allow access to higher class ships, more dangerous ships, but also to give you access to improved tools. I'm messing around a little bit with this one. A bit concerned it's going to go into that furnace. There we go, we are done. Let's get back to that ship. Now you can see it's starting to come apart quite nicely here. At some point I'll make a few cuts, extra cuts, and huge sections of the ship will start pulling apart. Right, we need to get access to those other cutting points, don't we?
Deposit accepted for processing.
Look, all these little elements dotted around that need to go into the barge. Those lights there, for example. Don't really want to damage them. Everything that we can gain a value from is certainly worth keeping, even these little elements. Although it does add to the time. So some people may have a slightly different approach to the game. For me, I really do enjoy the relaxed type approach to shipbreaking. Other people will prefer the challenge of cutting the ship apart as fast as they possibly can. And this will become ever more of a challenge when you're running against fuel use and the CO2 use. Right, I'm really starting to wonder if we're going to need to start using the cut tool at the moment to pull apart some of these larger panels, but still very conscious of destroying some of the valuable resources in here.
Salvage secured. Applying credit.
Okay, now you may have noticed some stutter there occasionally. That does seem to be happening in the game for me. I'm not sure if it's a problem with the game itself or if it's a problem with my setup or anything like that. I must admit I haven't gone away and looked on the forums just yet to see if other people are experiencing the same. Doesn't seem to be happening too frequent. Not got anything else running on the background here in this PC, and as you've seen from my other videos, generally don't have any problem with performance in games. Yeah, I'm running this on a Ryzen 7 5800X and an RTX 3080, so really shouldn't be too much in the way of problems with that. Currently in a resolution of 1440p, I probably could have pushed it up to 4K, but didn't really want to try that just yet. Okay, we've got a few other bits in here we're going to need to pull out and put into the barge. And as I'm doing this, you can see very slowly we're making progress across the top tiers.
Salvage deposited.
Now, some of you are probably finding this a little bit on the painful side to watch, especially if you've got a lot of experience with Hardspace Shipbreaker. I haven't got a lot of experience with it myself, so they are definitely, without a doubt, more efficient ways of pulling apart a ship. In fact, the game does a very good job of encouraging you to be more efficient with your progress and basically your skill set in pulling these ships apart. A true ship-breaking skill, I guess. Right, is this section ready to come off? It does look like it there. We've got a huge section to pull apart. In fact, this again goes back to what I was talking about with efficiency. Some people will probably no doubt prefer to break apart the most valuable and the most expensive parts first. They might not even bother pulling apart these little sections here. But I like to be methodical about it. Depends on how you like to play.
Applying credit.
Well, let's get that into the processing bay. Probably one of the biggest sections we've sent on its way yet. Okay. Now, hopefully, with that section removed, it allows us to get behind some of the structure there. Yes, it does. To get to some of those other cutting points.
Processing valuable object.
Yeah, and you can see that was worth quite a bit of money. A little preview of the other part of the cutting tool there. That's actually very, very interesting to use. A lot of fun, actually. I think we can pull this other part off now, can't we? Is that going to come? Try that again. There's some other cutting points in there, isn't there?
Credits transferred.
I would have thought that part should have been able to pull off at this point. Unless it's being held by the some section underneath there.
Salvage registered.
Okay, no problem. We'll just
Credits.
keep at this. Right, you know, we could be forever keep pulling these small little parts about. So I'm not going to take every single little bottle. We'll leave that and try and pull apart some of the larger sections of this ship. Like I say, there's different ways of efficiency of playing through this. Okay, so got a few more cutting points here. Let's get all of these. Last one. There we go. Going to be a little bit careful, I think, because we've got a fuel tank there. We don't want to. I was about to say, we don't want to blow that up. I thought I'd switch to the grappling tool there, but I'd pressed number 2 again, which changed to the other mode of the cutting tool. And you can see there we've lost some value of the ship, and that has now prevented us from reaching the maximum tier with dismantling and salvaging this particular ship. But like I say, you got to be careful. Okay, very, very heavy section of the ship here. In it goes. Hopefully not into the furnace. Seems to be drifting the wrong way there. Let's move that. Okay, then that's well on its way, isn't it? Right, before we go any further, I think you'd like to see the other mode of the cutting tool. So this mode is equally impressive, terrifying, and very effective, pretty much in all aspects. They haven't quite cut that properly, I think. Seems to be misaligned and almost stuck. Does it? Or is that the shadow giving the impression that it's released? I think that was actually a shadow. Right, so we can change the direction of the cut. We can have it horizontal or vertical. There we go. I think that is now pulling out. So you can only do this with aluminium sections of the ship, and those need to go into the furnace, not into the processor. Eventually then you'll reach a tier level that you're happy to stop at. I'm going to stop at Salvage Gold 2 here and head back to the hab. The hab is our living space, basically our base of operations. From here you've got access to a variety of different things. We can access our equipment as well as customize the equipment we have unlocked, at least in terms of its visual appearance, attaching stickers to it and things like that. The full living space has a kitchen, a bed, as well as the employee terminal. Just a quick look around here. You can see over to the front there we can customize some of the posters. Nothing else we can interact here with, at least not yet. We've got some posters over near our suit as well. We can customize these. So I think the idea is just a little bit of customization just a place to make your hab feel like home. So that is a look at the first 20 minutes or so of Hardspace Shipbreaker. Definitely a very interesting title and has some great salvaging mechanics here. If you'd like to see me go into more depth on this particular game in a future video, do let me know in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.